because it was a part of God's Jeremiah 29:11 for your life. And so we all came together at the crossroads of the South, and we are united by a grand spirit that I want to just use the word ministry, because in a day and age that we live in, people are so consumed with themselves, and many times Christians are so consumed with themselves that they forget that there's a higher calling, and that's ministry. I'll come back to that in just a minute. I got a call yesterday from an inmate in the Cayman Islands, and he had seen the trio on this program that aired last Saturday, 3ABN, which that company, I met the president of that company at Larry Goss's funeral, did not even know who he was or existed before then. And so they own 130 TV stations all over the world. Second largest gospel TV stations in America. They have 7 networks. They have one in French, one in Russian, one in Spanish, and about 4 more. So this inmate from the Cayman Islands called and he said, I'm an inmate, but I'm in charge of prison ministry in this particular prison in the Cayman Islands. And he said, could you send me some CDs because I want to share them and pass them around to inmates in this prison? And of course we will. But it reminded me of the fact that 1% of our population is incarcerated. And we leave this place and we go out and we get in our car and we go where we want to because we're free. But 1% of the United States population is behind bars for all kinds of legitimate reasons, and unfortunately many times not good reasons. And you and I both know that many times people are put in prisons and they're not guilty. But once they're there, they've lost this thing we call life. It's sucked out of them. And so the whole ministry comes into effect when people go to the trouble to say, I'm forgetting about myself. I will go to the trouble to go to a prison ministry and share the gospel with inmates. A friend of mine, Nancy Wood, that we met at when the trio was doing a TV taping in Detroit. And we shared a song with her, I Feel Heaven in This Place. And she started singing in the prison that she does ministry in. And the prisoners learned it. I feel heaven in this place. There's a verse in there that says, I feel healing in this place. So they learned it, and she felt like she had to sing it every time she would go. So this Sunday morning, she relays to me, she said, I went and I decided I wasn't going to sing it. She went there and she told the inmates that they weren't going to do I Feel Heaven in This Place, that particular. They ended up doing I Feel Heaven in This Place because you don't tell inmates that they're not going to sing a song that they want to sing. So they're singing I Feel Healing in This Place, and she said, we're singing and this black inmate jumps up and down. He says, I can see, I can see. We're not talking about scriptural when Jesus walked the shores of Galilee. We're talking about 2015, and somebody goes to the trouble to say, I'm going to give of myself to minister to inmates in a prison, and an inmate receives his sight. See? So I'm only saying that to you because I think that all of us are united by the word ministry. We went there. You may have not thought you went there for ministry. We're all involved in ministry somehow, some way, some fashion. You say, I'm not the preacher, I'm not the minister. You are a minister. You minister to people who need to find God. You minister to people on your job, or what? Let me backtrack. We should be ministering to people on our job with our life and our words and all that. So I'm thankful that God allowed me to be an architect of songs instead of an architect of buildings, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And it took me 14 years to figure out what God wanted me to do. God knew all along where he had to take me to get me to where I needed to go. So I'm really thankful that God has allowed me to be a part of your life. I have to confess that some of the stories that you relay, I honestly don't remember. That's not just a senior moment thing. It's not just getting older thing. But I read something recently. It says, you know, the older you get, the more you have on your disc, and your disc gets full. My disc is full, so fortunately for many of you, I don't remember some of those things. By the way, I don't know if you had a chance to see the trio on this last Saturday. We did another taping, which is going to air this Saturday on 3ABN Network. You can get it different ways. Dish channel 9393, or you can download an app on your phone, 3ABN, or you can go on your laptop to 3abn.org and then click on Watch Listen, and then they've got 7 networks, so you'll click on 3ABN. Why this is special to me this coming Saturday that you'll see this lady from Russia who is in charge of their TV station in Russia. You may remember a few months back, a journalist who was anti-government in Russia was killed. Okay, that was her brother. And it just so happens in the last few months, her husband somehow died in a swimming accident in Russia. And the next Monday, her employees were going to be called in for interrogation. Okay? This is the world that we live in. Okay? So the first program that I did by myself sometime, a month ago, and we sang Whatever It Takes, and she listened to that program. She was very affected by it. And so she's going to show up on this program that you'll see Saturday. And so we're all singing Whatever It Takes. And so she, at the end, she says the words, "That's what I'll be willing to do," in Russian. Now, why that's touching to me is the fact that this woman is the song. You know, some people say, I can't sing that song yet. It's too hard for me to sing. This woman is that song. So I'm glad that God has allowed us all to be a part, connected at the hip with JCM. I went to my 55th class reunion high school, and it's not the same. You know, I went to the 50th, I went to the 55th, and I was a very important part of what went on there and all the activities. But, you know, when I went to high school, I didn't fit in then. I never went to a football game in my high school because we had young people service on Friday night, and there was no choice. I went to young people service, never went to one football game in my high school. So my high school classmates didn't really know me. And I couldn't really connect with them like maybe some others did. So when I went to the 40th, it's kind of like I was almost a celebrity. You know how like the football players are at high school level, because in that interim, people had come in contact with the music that God passed through my pen. And so, we sang your song and we did this. So I'm thinking my 55th, which was just recently, it's not the same. We have a connection in the spirit. See, it's not just JCM, it's a connection in the spirit. We're going to do this God's Family thing here in a minute. This was very interesting. The trio was at Steve Gregory's church in Pennsylvania maybe a year ago, and he had this idea. He said, you know, I would like to do this where we video you from 8 angles, and we would do a cyber choir. I wasn't really familiar with the technique. So that at your homegoing, whenever that would be, that we would play this and we would be able to have people from around the world singing as a part of God's family, and you'd be directing them. So I thought that's a cool idea. So they videoed that. And so when we were planning the reunion for this July, I said, wouldn't it be great if we could do that that was a bad idea on my part because of so much work involved. I mean, it was a tremendous amount of work and technology. So what you'll see here is, this is not really the finished project. There are 116 people from different countries all over the world. You'll notice where they're from. So the technology was hard. Some of you saw and you said it's too hard to figure out. And some people said, I can't figure it out. Have your grandkid figure out how to do it on the phone. Yeah, it was very involved. It was not easy to do, but we ended up with 116 people that did it. And so at the end, you'll see all those 116 people, and it looks like you're seeing stills, but they're all singing. But it's so small that you can't realize that. So I want to do this. They have a certain term for mixing down. See, this is not like just mixing a video. You're mixing 116 videos at the same time and syncing them all together. That's why all that business about you have to wait till the click and all that kind of thing. So what happens is the first part of this, the trio was singing live, so you won't see the trio. So we'll all be the trio. We'll all sing it. And when we do this, Kevin, if I can get you and Tracy and James to sing with me, just hopefully we'll get the entrance right. If we don't, we'll just start over. So then a lot of these people that really were singing, you don't get to see them up close and personal. So I want to redo this so we get a lot more close-up shots, okay? So we'll try to do this. So this is kind of like what we did for the July event.